Hi guys, I've got a quick and fun page for you in my traveler's notebook today. I've pulled out a bunch of ink colours and I've chosen those colours from random colours in the photos that I've got. I've got a couple of square photos this week and I've just chosen the colours that I'm going to do some repeat stamping with from inside those photos. So there's mostly pinks and reds, and I have added a couple of cooler toned inks as well. They were in the photos there and I've just picked some of those out too. So I've got a blue, a purple and a brown. Now I'm going to use one of my favourite stamps from the Boss Babe set from Kellie stamp. The little stamp says heck yeah. It does have words in the middle of a circle, but the circle is solid. So the first thing I'm going to do, I tested out the stamp and it wasn't stamping that solidly. So I'm just going to prime my stamp a little bit with my sand eraser, just lightly rubbing it over the surface and then giving it a bit of a wipe just to make sure that when it stamps nice and clear and solid. It is worth taking that little extra step when you do have a solid stamp like that. You don't have to do it every time, literally just the first time you go to stamp with it, and it really does make a difference, so it is worth doing it. Now I'm going to just randomly stamp this stamp across this little insert. I have cut out, it's just a piece of plain sort of printer paper, just because there's going to be a lot of repeat stamping on here and I didn't want to make any mistakes, but if I did, I didn't want those mistakes to be in my notebook. So the little insert helps because I don't have that extra pressure. Now I'm just randomly picking these colours out. The only sort of rules that I'm using is that I want to mostly use the pinks and the reds rather than those cooler toned colours, and I'm trying really hard not to stamp the same colour next to each other. So the second row of stamping here, I've just offset it so that the stamps are sitting in the middle of the circles of the row before, which means each stamp's going to be touching a lot of different colours. So it is a tiny bit difficult, but I am trying to make sure that each one of those stamps is an individual colour. And apart from that, I'm just having fun with it. It take a little bit of time to stamp this, but it's not complicated stamping, so it's a reasonably enjoyable process just to sit down and chill out for a little bit and stamp out all of these stamps. Now the photos that I'm working with this week are just a couple, they're kind of setup photos that I took because we went to, well, sort of a specialty grocery store, I guess, and I picked out a whole bunch of artisan chocolates, and that's my page. I'm going to rate those chocolates because, to be fair, I'm obviously a cheap and cheerful kind of girl, because the amount of money that I paid for my artisan chocolates did not equal the amount of joy that I got out of eating them. So that's what this page is about. The insert, I am finished and I have just stuck that onto the left hand side of my spread here, and then I glued down my photos. Now I added a couple of pieces of washi tape here and I had a whole bunch to choose from. This is sort of a coppery coloured glitter one. But you'll see in a minute that I don't end up keeping that washi tape. It's really heavy on that page. Those photos are actually quite light toned, and I thought that the washi tape would balance out the heaviness of the left hand side, because all of that repeat stamping is very visually overwhelming, but I actually think that the balance for this page comes from having the lightness on the right hand side. Now I didn't want to do too much in the way of journaling. I pretty much just wanted to rate the chocolate bars. So what I've done is taken that little strip of scrap paper there that was an offcut from when I cut the insert for the left hand side, and I just ran it through my typewriter and added just some asterisk marks in the form of stars for the ratings. So I had to do it a few times because I kept messing up, but eventually I've got a few rows of stars, but they're asterisks, that I'm going to use in just one moment to fill in some labels. But the first thing I did was I'm adding a little border. It's just in black ink. There are a few spots of black in those photos. On that same set, the Boss Babe set, there's like a line of dots, sort of like a journaling line. So I've just repeat stamped that around the 3 edges of the right hand side, and this is when I decided to peel up this washi tape. I didn't like it. I thought I could live with it, decided I couldn't, and so I really carefully peeled it up. It's sort of a funny kind of cheaper washi tape. I don't even know if you can call it washi tape really. It's very different. It's not paper based at all, and as you can see, it does peel up okay if you're really gentle with it, but otherwise it was a little bit rippy. So I was very careful and managed to get it off without ruining that page, and I love it so much better without that. Now I'm using the I Love Labels stamp set, just the littlest label on there, and I'm going to stamp around the outside of the asterisks that I've already typed, and then fussy cut out those little labels. And my plan is to just place them next to the chocolate bar that they represent, or the chocolate bar in the photo that they represent. But even though they are the smallest label on that stamp set, they are still very large. So when I place it on my page here, there's going to be one on the left and one on the right, and they take up far too much room on the photo, and then they take up too much room outside the photo. So I decided to try trimming it down so it would sort of stick underneath the photo, but because of where I've stamped it, it's not far across enough on the label. So luckily I had made those mistakes when I was typing, and I had a couple of extra sets here, so I'm going to re-stamp those. They're not perfectly aligned because those were the mistakes in the typing, but these things happen for a reason. I've stamped one towards the left and one towards the right, so I can fit these tiny little pieces of label onto my actual page. That way it looks like they're coming from underneath the photo, and they don't take up quite as much visual room. So it definitely worked much better. You can just stick them down. The one at the bottom, I don't mind that it's a whole label. It's not taking up quite as much room on the photo. And that is my labeling finally sorted out for a page that doesn't have a lot of written journaling on it. It sure took a long time. Now, in the end, I hadn't planned on having a title, but I decided that the left-hand page needed a title on there. So I went and had a look through my alpha stash to find anything I thought that might work. And in the end, none of those coloured ones are going to stand out against such a heavily coloured patterned background. So instead, I grabbed these just plain white foam thickers, and I'm going to pop those on, and they have the most contrast, so you can actually see the title under there, which I'm keeping pretty simple. I'm just going to spell out Choc me. Normally I wouldn't put foam into my notebook, but this one's nearly done, so it's not an issue. Now don't forget that I've got a discount code down below for you for Kellie stamps, and that expires really soon, so if you've been on the fence and thinking about it, now is the time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there's a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye guys.